Hello, War of the Visions fans. I'm Jackie Fox, and I don't usually cover this website, Game8. I've only seen one other creator that covers this. This is Umbra Rays, and he has been my source for, getting JP info for, in terms of videos for, 6 or so years now, because his character reviews tend to be pretty good and tend to come out before other people. So, I'm one of those freaks who wants to know about this stuff as soon as possible in advance. I'm a content creator. It's important to me to get that information. There's other content creators like KT7up especially is another good one to sub to if you want more JP information in your feed. Really good at putting up character summaries in community posts. That's a really good channel. And I want to recommend this team building series in part because I was probably one of the commenters that encouraged Umbra Rays the most to do team building videos over the years. But also, so many of you have encouraged me to do more team building videos that I'm sure his massive audience has also had a lot of people to do it. And I really like the way that this website lays it out because they actually show really cool example builds. The thing is, the reason why this channel is special is I play 4 accounts, all basically free to play, that are each specialized in a couple of elements, and this allows me to diversify and cover a wide variety of teams for the channel. It also means I have a lot of experience basically piloting every element and a lot of different team compositions in a way that other content creators might not unless they spend quite a bit of money. Although I don't have a lot of the high dollar teams often because I don't have the super meta limited teams, for example. Looking at you guys. I mean, I don't even have this team. I have a lot of experience with this composition, and I'll definitely have a lot to say about it. But oh man, let me find it. Scrolly. In this video here, I did really like what he had to say about the teams. It was pretty good information, but for some reason, and I've looked at a lot of data, my opinion on this doesn't come from my own personal experience, although it does. It comes from a lot of anecdotal experience on my side of getting my ass beat definitively by Evasion teams, but also being able to win because I was evasive, seeing certain characters be really good as evasive characters that aren't even like Evasion characters necessarily, just because people aren't building for accuracy. Because, and this is one thing that I do definitely disagree with Umbra on, I don't think Evasion is dead. I just don't think a lot of people are playing it. I think it's very much alive, and one thing that he seems to have missed, probably the oversight that most made me want to make this video, is there's an emphasis on Evasion for a certain number of characters and teams in here that he says not a word about, nor seems to notice at all. There's actually some particularly weird picks for armor and vision cards that overemphasize Evasion to a point where looking at this, oh my god, I'm not trying to start a beef, but it feels like malpractice, not to mention Evasion. But as you'll note, I can't translate a page in Japanese. I don't know. Can you see that in OBS? You cannot see that pop-up notification in OBS. That's unfortunate. So for full translations, janky as they are, I'm actually going to have to refer to his video. Now, despite this being relatively recent, I think it might have been recorded in advance. Look, a lot of my videos have been recorded in advance lately. But there's definitely been some team updates, which means that there's teams in this video that are on the website now. So I want to cover both. So I'll first look through his video where we get a translated version of the website. Thankfully. Can do full screen. What about theater mode? Hell yeah. And we'll cover the outlying teams or the newer teams towards the end of the video as we look through the website. The top team here is the one that I picked out in my, I think it was my Sephiroth up video, actually. It's doing really well, and Summer Glaciella is very, very much due for an upgrade very soon. So that's going to be cool. It's interesting to see the greatsword party that they pick out is Thunder Astrius. I'd been predicting that that was going to become the better of the two variants, even though the A2 variant has been more popular and more used. Maybe there's just more people running that, but I think they, for a good reason, say that this is a better party. And then this third party is basically what I already run. I really wish that I got Halloween Lucio for it. I'm actually getting Bradley to be pretty evasive on this team, which is kind of dumb. I've seen Hessian Mont dodge more than is normal. So Lucio would just be comical on this team, I'm absolutely certain. There's good evasion support in Earth and has been basically since the beginning of the game. Like, all that early Catone support has just been amazing. And just been kind of consistently moving Earth towards evasion potential. But we're also going to see the consistently amazing evasion potential of Fire for that special group of people who are playing during Dragon Quest and could afford to get the Agility Luck VC, because that is such an evasion enabler. We're going to see that later. So for our first team here, this is one of the ones that I think the evasion aspect of is actually pretty significantly laid out here. You have maximum agility because the Chariot VC, which he notes, has 18 agility. So you're cranking that up for this team as much as is possible because the job requirements for that line up with the entire team. Other than that, yeah, Helena or Scions of the House Bielve, but, you know, that wouldn't really work for Gilgamesh, now would it? Would be good vision card choices, but a particularly interesting thing here for me is that vision card, Sara's vision card, only helps Sephiroth in this team. That's kind of a big disadvantage for something, especially when there's definitely vision cards that would work for the entire team, that would work great in that top slot. But you'll also notice that the Sephiroth has equipped to him the Winter Coat. Now, honestly, I would more imagine that Evasive Sephiroth would be equipping the Black Garb and getting the extra defense penetration. Maybe the calculation is that he doesn't need it, or he's not that offensive of a character on a team like this, necessarily. As Umbra notes in this video, actually, that is, by his estimation, the weak point that Curse seeks to solve. But as you can see, the whole team composition is actually weaker for the fact that this build of Sephiroth specifically is made to maximize his evasion. This also explains the Esper. This is why Chaos Ifrit is so important for him. This is a very evasion supportive Esper. So, like, this is pretty much going into evasion about as hard as they can for Sephiroth, at least with like 3 out of 4 of their build choices for it. And if this is the best team despite those aspects, kind of this being in most other ways a suboptimal armor, the vision card is in most other ways a suboptimal vision card. Darker Freak's okay, but like the evasion must be working. So this team right here, no, he covered this one really well. Again, if you want to see his video, I'm going to link to that in the description. But let me skip forward a bit here, because he doesn't get this team. He feels like this team is going to fall off soon, and yes, there is a very powerful wind unit coming. And this is where he's talking about the team is closest to the one that I'm probably most actively playing now. And running like really high evasion on my Bradley has been super cool. Now, I would say that like Ashen King Mont, and especially if you have Lucio in here too, like you have so much chaining potential with this team. I wouldn't even run a weapon on Bradley. I wouldn't even think of Bradley as a damage unit. The Crow Cloak would make him even more evasive. See, he skipped through that team so fast because he just doesn't get it. Let me back up and focus on this team a little bit more because I think it's cool. But between the Crow Cloak and the Winter Coat, you could, despite all the rest of this, get Bradley to be pretty evasive. Now, you'll see that the primary evasion espers are actually on Ashen Mont and Lucio, and that makes sense. Like, we're seeing Dark Ifrit here again from Sephiroth. We're also seeing Odin, who is not necessarily an evasion Esper, but he is very fast, which is going to help. He's more of an accuracy Esper than his dark counterpart. And that really plays into what Bradley does as well. But you could also lean more evasive with Bradley. And for me, like, I don't have the extra super evasive unit for this team, so I push Bradley more into that role. So Bradley is getting a little bit more of the Lucio treatment. But also, you know, Lucio may be, as a purpose-built evasion unit, evasive enough in this composition that he doesn't need Bradley to do that here. So this could still be quite good. Although, you know, how will it fare? As it's been a very consistently good, for a lot of reasons, team versus a new wind unit in Shrek. I guess. I'm calling her Shrek until we know what she is in the English dub. But, I'm sorry, sub. Damn it. We don't have an English dub anymore. Moving on. Into Tier 2. Don't have anything really to say about the Ice Party. This is just a really resilient party. They are maximizing the actual agility on A2 with the Reminiscent Hairpin. So that's... We've also got a lot of agility here. And we're also countering AP with Blade Stream Tech on Aldoa. Which is interesting. I mean, like, who else would do it on this team? Absolutely. She's the unit you would want it for. And especially, so this isn't necessarily going to be good into wind, though, because it's not going to apply, you know, since we do know the next wind unit is going to be a mage. It's definitely not going to apply to that. So this isn't really going to make them more threatening to win. This is probably more to help them counter, like, fire and earth at the moment. Okay, so the fire team is another example of really missing the ball here. Again, we're seeing basically the same build for... Actually, wait, basically, no, this is exactly the same maximal build for Sephiroth. Also, Subjob Axe Knight isn't one that I've been running or considering, but it does seem quite powerful. The ability to sleep people is just another way to add a status curveball into his kit. That could be pretty cool, and honestly, I should start running that, like, right now. That seems cool. I forget he has it, but that is... It's one that surprises me when an opponent is using that. I'm like, oh yeah. But I never remember it long enough to actually change it for myself, I guess. But we're also seeing the Winter Coat show up again on Soul. We're also seeing Bradley's TMR over here on Soul as well, and that's going to give him haste. We're actually seeing haste TMRs on the two offensive units here, because Sephiroth has his own equipment. So with haste, they're going to have... That's honestly, haste is one of the biggest boosts to your evasion. It's a really stealthy boost, because it's not what most people think of haste as doing, but it does that as well. So that's a big booster and a big combo, like using the Winter Code and a haste TMR. And we know how popular those are, and this is one of the reasons that they're popular. They can really help with evasion strategies. Once again, we're seeing an evasion team pop up here. Tetrasilphid is an older evasion Esper. She's probably like the first really good one. And maybe only one of like 4 or 5 in the game still. She's kind of mixed for magic, or... She's mixed on magic and attack. So she could work on a variety of characters. And she's also pretty good for, I think it's wind resistance, actually. She can build up quite a high amount of wind resistance as well, which is really pretty cool for her if you're not using her for evasion potential. So she can be an anti-elemental Esper in a surprising way that I think is really cool. And I used to use her a lot more in the past for that when wind was stronger. But we're also, again, seeing Dark Ifrit here for like this synergy with fire, and also, so we're probably seeing like fire damage up or something from this in addition to picking up the evasion nodes. So really, this team is like, we don't want you to hit them. I remember this one being pretty fast too. We don't want you to hit them, because you're going after Volke. We don't want Volke to go down. We want Volke to be resilient. But even if you get through them, we don't want you to be able to hit our DPS under most circumstances. And again, the cornerstone of that is really this vision card here. If you don't have that, maybe this isn't necessarily what you want to go for. But I have seen that the more evasive you can build Sephiroth specifically, he can be a lot more powerful in battle. Because giving him just one more turn away from damage to be able to heal himself back up or something is just really powerful for him. And also we're running a lot of bonus evasion here with Shiva. This is going to be a party-wide evasive effect. So we're just running a lot of evasion, luck, evasion and luck, essentially here. Although there's no second slot luck, you could even, if you wanted to, slot in Katone's vision card. We saw that on the Earth team for a little bit potential more luck, which also might make the team just a bit more accurate. Here's the prototypical Water and Joom team. As you can see, there are... Oh, I didn't expect to see that. As you can see, there are 3 Chaos Espers here, although you might even be able to run more. This, despite being old, it's the AoE resistance Water Esper, so it's very important for water teams. It also synergizes really well with the unit resist over here. So we have agility, area, and unit resist. We got that triad covered. And then even more agility over here. Even though I think this is a magic vision card, they're running it on a physical unit. A tank isn't as damage dependent, so you can make, whether a card's only going to give you so much magic or so much attack, so it's not a huge loss. But it is a loss. You wouldn't want to do this necessarily on a DPS. So it kind of makes sense that we're giving it to her to boost up the speed of this team as much as possible, because Spring Joom can be incredibly fast, and they're also trying to make her in a way even faster. I don't always like this strategy, but Trick Lancer is going to give her a lot of range in her kit, which could cause her to skip buff turns, and I feel like Spring Joom's buff turns are really consequential for her. But I guess maybe if she gets her HP absorbed, no, because she's not going to be taking damage that early, so the HP absorb wouldn't be... That's almost certainly why they're doing it. Odin here, maybe just for being generically fast and generically good, but also maybe a little bit of extra accuracy. I am not entirely sure. I think that's her signature sword, and I would also disagree. I think that the Save the Queen is a big deal for her. She does have some AP consumption down in her kit, but giving her just a passive source of it that is consistent and works for her at all times really helps her sustain in 2 different ways. And I think it's a really helpful one for her. You do want the agility off of Bells, and that does give you access to that effect, but you probably want to use her buff turns differently. And, the Save the Queen can really mean that she doesn't have to activate Bells. I would say that's probably a little bit better. But again, we're seeing the reminiscent hairpin and I think something Caligari. 7 agility, 7 agility, 8 agility. So the TMR selection for this team wasn't based really on buffs. In fact, if they have buffs, they don't matter. I don't even think that these two do have buffs. And this one shouldn't even matter. But they're all here just to give a lot more base agility to these units. Moving on to our next team, we have the Spear Party. So this is going to be Veritas of the Wind, Volke, and Elda. Elda here is maximizing his accuracy. Another cool thing about Bells is it has quite high, in fact, maybe the highest base accuracy for a TMR. The Alexandrite ring is also going to have quite a bit of accuracy. If you really, really want to make this boy accurate, the white marshmallow miniature would be an even better way to go. But this particular piece of equipment is going to help boost up his all elemental resistance too, so that's going to be cool. Also, we're seeing Odin here again. Odin is an excellent accuracy Esper. Good counterpoint to Dark Odin, and that's definitely what we're seeing him used for here. again, we're also seeing, we'll remember this TMR set from the last team we had. So getting a lot of base agility on these guys is particularly important. Veritas of the Wind can haste himself, that I remember. Maybe the other two can, but can haste himself. And this is really important for his limit burst as well. So he doesn't need a haste TMR. Instead, he wants the highest base agility that he can because he's going to be getting that haste really consistently. Let me have the strike team. So personally, I feel like the strike team is a lot more open than this in some ways. Also, wait, what? Do they just not have a TMR on Alphonse at all? I don't... Why don't they have a Why don't... What? That doesn't make any sense. Okay, so a couple of things to note here. We're seeing similar attempts at evasion as we did before. One of the only card that we're seeing here that is not a strike VC is going to be boosting up luck. We're also seeing very high emphasis on evasion in our gear. And additionally, kind of a high emphasis on evasion, especially here with the Wu, I believe this is the Wu Tai headband from Yuffie, which is a very good evasive support TMR. We're also seeing, a measure of self-hasting here for Alaya. We're also kind of focusing a little bit on her AP consumption and her accuracy as well. I don't really understand. I mean, this is his signature accessory, so that's good. And this is going to be a really good armor for him. Just trying to imagine a TMR for him, but my brain kind of broke because... No, actually, no, it's pretty easy. I think this team might be able to get a Blade Stream out of him, maybe. But... And that's an interesting answer to the question, is like, how fast do you want him to be? And it really is going to determine, like, it's going to be down to how he fits into your turn order. I've noticed in the example builds here that the builds for the tanks don't emphasize as much speed, which is interesting because in a lot of times you have to emphasize speed with tanks to get them out in front. Now, modern tanks are generally faster than some of the older tanks like Engelbert era, who is just painfully slow and very hard to get out in front. So maybe these newer tanks get out in front better, and it's kind of their movement tech in battle that we're not seeing here. That's good enough. Maybe you do want them to fall back, take a couple hits and fall back after a little while. Which brings me to like the theory that they're not running a TMR at all because of trust. I don't know. No, that wouldn't. No, this was like a loading error, I'm sure. But you might not want to throw a high base agility TMR on him, or you might not want to throw a haste TMR on him, or either of those things could be a really great option for this slot on this character. As I don't necessarily think that there are a lot of really good TMR fists off the top of my head. Although I think the lightweight steel fists do offer a good bit of accuracy, I'm not necessarily sure that's going to be super important to Alphonse, but it would be a choice. Actually, you could just run bells. That'd be interesting enough. When in doubt, run bells. So, as you can see, there was more to that video than that, and getting into... Don't load it all. Because he wanted to add in stuff for Fina and such and Cypher and all that. And that wasn't really included in... I don't know how he looked at... They must have updated a lot over the last couple of days. So I'll leave that to his video to show you. And we can go back to the listings and see what's changed. Our top three, our tier 1 teams are still... Wait, really? I'm so confused. Okay, it's down here though. Okay, so this is one of the newer team builds. This is going to be a light and dark team. I'm not super familiar with the job VCs here, but I'm going to assume that they support a couple of the units here. This one actually supports everybody for sure on this team, as does this. It looks like, wait, she has a heavy armor unit? That's not what I expected. But hey, big heavy armor, Maximilian. I think that's Gilgamesh's, sword. She's a sword unit? Shenanigans. This is a Gilgamesh build. What are you doing here? This is that's a bow. That's a sword. Bow. Sword. Okay, whatever. The rest of it looks accurate for her, though. What a quirky website. Let's see. So this is really pushing the damage. I think this is an agility VC, so we're also pushing our agility pretty high here. Don't remember what this vision card did, but I remember it being cool. Can I get it'll be in Japanese. It is an 18% agility card. HP is pretty cool. Nothing else here makes any sense to my brain. So, this would be the team with the characters I'm basically least familiar with, but also the vision cards I'm least familiar with. Our Greatsword team is back. In addition to what I said previously about Bradley's build for this one, the Blood Sword is almost confusingly absent here. The Mythgraven Blade even is pretty cool on him. I guess maximizing for agility. Agility kind of and evasion potential here, but also potentially high movement up. This could be really fun in manual play, but I haven't tried this on him. This might be interesting on him. Hate down and move up and jump up. Especially in manual, this might get him places in a fun way. That could be fun to play in class match. I'm gonna try that out. You have the same ice team, same fire team, very evasion centric as a mechanic. However, not really a team with an evasion unit on it, and maybe not even a team that is super evasive. However, there is a definite focus and prioritization of evasion in this build. And I think it's for a very good reason. Like I started to say in the previous one, I think really like any potential strike tank that you could put in here, like this is a very powerful strike-based team. So swapping in a different element of tank probably wouldn't be a good idea. This wants to remain a strike team. But Alaya and Tifa are both really powerful examples. 2P is also great in her own right. Ashen Katone is okay, probably not optimal enough for this party. I would also say Edward and the other Tifa probably aren't quite up to snuff. But Snow's pretty good. I think Snow could come in for Alphonse, although Alphonse is still probably a little bit better. He's been really resilient. He is a good tank, but I think maybe even because there aren't any lightning elemental cards, there's nothing on this team that is dependent on there being 2 lightning units here. There are additional strategic advantages for giving a little bit more of a variety of elements to a team like this that could support any number of elements. Also, this might be a really fun place to slot in Veritas of the Earth once people have it built up. Now, personally, I'm a little bit confused about some of these teams. I don't understand. Is this limited? It doesn't even make sense for at least the best non-limited teams. No. I don't understand in what world most of these are the best for their element currently. Like, it feels like this section hasn't been updated in a very long time. But I guess it's a pretty cool snapshot into what the best teams for each element were maybe a year ago. I can't explain, because there's a lot of effort clearly that's put into explaining these teams. I wish I had, because Umbra skipped scroll right past it, and I can't read Japanese, and apparently my browser doesn't translate it. I know I could use another one, but at the moment, this is what I've got. And they do give a good explanation for these teams. Not that I think it's necessarily worth reading because of how out of date this section of this page is, but this top part does seem to get updated relatively often. If you want, I will leave you a link in the description for this, because I don't know, it was a little bit hard to find if you can't translate the website, but I still found it, so I'll help you. I'll also leave a link to Umbra's video as well, if that's like not a creator you've ever heard of. And they mentioned KT7up, and those are really helpful posts. I'll also leave a link to their channel as well. Yep, all that. There's also going to be a link to find the rest of the Jackie Fox Media Empire, my other channels, podcasts, books, and places that you can support the channel. I'd really appreciate it, even if it was just a couple of bucks to do some polls. It does take maybe a little bit more of my mental attention to run 4 accounts simultaneously. That's a lot of daily stuff. The biggest blessing that I ever got with this strategy was the background repeat system becoming more and more prevalent. And when we finally get it for multis, the automation will be complete and I will be in bliss. But it still does take quite a bit of time. And hopefully the contrast between these two videos, while I think that everything said in my video as well as Umbra's videos is going to be valid, hopefully that shows you how a diversity of opinion is important and helpful. Maybe it's a good reason to subscribe to the channel. Maybe it's a good reason to send a couple of bucks. Maybe it's a good reason, if you're my subscriber, to subscribe to Umbra's channel as well. Plenty of options for you there. But share the love, and share some of the love in the comments. Tell me what you loved about this video. Tell me if I should revisit this website in the future. Tell me if I should grab a different browser next time. I'll definitely try that. Chrome will probably do better. I was doing this in Firefox, but Firefox of all things I would have thought would have had this. Maybe this is I need to install a dictionary or something, where Firefox is maybe a little bit more manual. And I like that. I like that it doesn't assume what I want, but maybe I can figure out how to get it to translate Japanese for me. Who knows? I do tend to like Firefox better. And that's not just because they, like I, are cool foxes. Actual cool foxes. So with all that being said, we'll see you in the next one.